And we're live.
Yeah.
This is the reason they call us Imperfect Truth, because you never know what's going to happen from one show to the next. I just shared last week's show and tagged a whole bunch of people. So we just going to jump right into it. This is Dak, a.k.a. I messed up this week. You know what I'm saying? But we got a very wonderful special guest tonight. I'll let her introduce herself shortly. But buckle your seats. I know a lot of people were asking me about this. A lot of people were interested in attachment styles. So we're going to go ahead and just jump into it. Rob Deasy, tell them who you be, sir.
What's up? What's up? It's your boy Rob Deasy, Mr. Keep It 1000. We got a great show on our hands today talking about attachment styles with a great guest. Guys, stay tuned in and we're going to have some good conversations. What up, Jay? What's up with that smile, man?
Oh, he's still calling me out. I think he's going to leave me alone. God is good, man. It's very important to acknowledge him and everything that we do, man. We got a great and helpful and insightful show tonight. We got a great guest, the doctor and my dear friend, Dominique Maywald, Dr. Maywald, Dr. Dubs. But she's gonna come and help us. This is add another tool to our box, man, to help us be more efficient in our existence, man. I really appreciate her coming on to talk about attachment theory because it's very helpful just to understand the bullshit that we create as an individual in our own relationships and why. You know what I'm saying? That's me, man. Yeah, I am smiling pretty hard. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I'm talking about?
Boy, you like first 48, man. You just dry snitching.
First 48. You know what I'm saying? I ain't mean to tell him. God is good. All right.
Dr. Maywald, and I'm sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly. I don't have my old man glasses on.
Yeah, so it's definitely Dr. Maywald or Professor, if you like to be a little nasty. I don't know, but I'm glad to be here with y'all today to talk a little bit about attachment theory and maybe give y'all some tools on how you could start to recognize some of these patterns of behavior in yourself or in your partner, and also try to make some of those changes. So yeah.
All right. So, well, let's just go ahead and we ain't gonna waste no time. Being we're a little late today, we're gonna go ahead and just jump right in. This week we don't have any hot topics. This is the hot topic this week. So first, Professor. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Professor. Where you from?
Okay, I currently live in Birmingham, Alabama, but I'm a professor at Jacksonville State University. Go Cockies. I received my doctorate from Tulane University in 2020, which was kind of crazy because that was during a pandemic. I'm fully licensed to provide therapeutic counseling services in the state of Florida. And I did my entire doctorate, like all of my training and stuff on attachment theory. That's how important it was to me.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That's really, really amazing.
I grew up in California. I forgot about that. I'm from Long Beach, from the LBC. And I'm also a veteran. I was in the Army for 8 years and served as a combat medic. So I've had many different careers, but I love what I do now. Teaching is great.
That's awesome. Yeah, you a vet with Rob and Jay. Jay, you a vet too?
Mm-hmm.
Jay eating good. Jay.
I'm Navy vet, man. 7.5 years, brother. I spent time in Afghanistan too.
Oh, really?
So, doing that, the whole weekend when things happened, I was definitely like, yo, what's going on? So,
no, that's understood. Yeah. So I'm a vet from the project, so you know what I mean. I ain't go to war, but projects is like war, so you know what I mean.
It really is.
So what because you said you love what you do. What got you into social work and wanting to help people?
Well, I started engaging in social work at a very young age. I just didn't know that's what it was called. I come from a family of, avid religious, spiritual women. And so many times in the afternoons on Sundays after church, we would take meals out to Skid Row in LA and just kind of serve the homeless people. I
Okay.
didn't know at the time that that was social work, but
Mhm.
that really just it was drilled into me by my grandmother that it was really important for us to give back to our community. It's great to go out and get an education and do all of these different things, but you need to bring those resources back to the community. So
Oh, that's hand clap for that. Hand clap for that. You don't hear too many people want to take it back to the community. All right, so so the first question, because I know this is going to pop up, so let me just go ahead and ask you early. Um, what do you prefer, attachment styles or the 5 love languages?
oh wow. Interesting. I'm not a and or type person. I'm a both, right? So I think what we have to do, especially when we're exposed to new information that could be helpful, is just try to take away whatever we can from it. Maybe everything with the 5 love languages didn't resonate with us, and that's
Mhm.
okay, but something did, right? It gives us just kind of a framework and how to navigate relationships and how to express love in relationships, which is very helpful because you don't get taught these things in high school. So,
Right.
as far as like love languages or attachment, I'm a both and type person. I subscribe to both. And I talk to my clients about both as well, because I think
Mhm.
any tool that's in your, repertoire
Yeah.
is going to help you.
No, that's interesting. Kind of, I got, I said I kind of rejected the 5 love languages. I think Rob rejected it as well.
I
I mean,
wouldn't.
it's always a guideline. Like nothing's going to be ever absolute. You know what I'm saying? It's a good guideline to kind of figure out somebody. But like you can't just count on that and just think that's going to help you.
Mhm.
Find your soulmate. Like no, man. Like
Not.
it's not that easy.
Now
Yeah.
the
I mean,
professor, she said it best. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say she said it best. Like it ain't that I don't like the 5 love languages, but I think we push it like everybody got to fall into these 5 and that you got to adhere to what was in the book and what your friend said is her style and that's how she received it, so that's what you're gonna press on your man. That's where I'm against that. I believe a lot of this stuff is combinations. Like you got to take this here, apply it to yourself, take this here, apply it to yourself, like that. I think people just looking for quick fix, and when they read that book they're like, oh shit, this is the gold road to successful relationships and my partner. Nah, I don't believe that. I still think you gotta learn your partner. You're gonna have to learn what it means to them for you to have words of affirmation. Because one might say, I like to hear I love you. Somebody else might want to hear good job, baby. It's just different things. That's my whole thing with it. Is that people just try to use it like it's the gospel, and it to me it's not. It's framework to get the juices flowing. To me,
Yeah, you guys bring up really great points. It's just like whenever you have a kid, they always say, hey, your kid doesn't come with a book. But even if your kid came with a book, right, the
Mhm.
book wouldn't cover all the gray areas. We don't live in a world that's black and white. Your partner's not black and white. You're not black and white. So you have to take a sprinkle of this, a sprinkle of that, whatever is going to
mm-hmm.
work best for you.
Right.
So I don't think we should lean too hard into anything. And
Mhm.
that's one of the things I really love about science in general is it's not like a hard and fast rule. It's just a set of like assumptions that gives you a framework of like how to operate. It's not black and white. And even
Mm-hmm.
if we conducted an experiment using attachment theory, we wouldn't necessarily be able to say like, oh, well, this is going to work for every single person. That's not realistic. So we have to be careful when it comes to, self-help and, relational help. You
Mhm.
take what works for you, take what resonates and leave the rest.
Yep. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. Nothing in the 5 love languages resonated. Maybe because I don't have a wife who wants words of affirmation. Let me make sure she ain't on first before I say that.
Nah, but really,
So
the book should generate some hard conversations, really, because I feel like that's what's going to get you to really understanding your partner below the surface. Everybody's going to put the certain outer layer on for other folks, but let's really dig deep into the surface, under the surface of what you really are portraying to me, so I can really see later on when something touched your nerve. I understood why it touched your nerve, because the outer showed me that ain't shit bothering you, but when I hit this subject, you obviously went to another mode. So, not to get on that and dwell on that too much, but that's pretty much, you got to combine a lot of stuff. I think you said it the best though.
But I mean, kind of, you're bringing up really great points. And even I really love attachment theory because you could notice something in your partner that your partner doesn't notice because it's a pattern, behavior. They've done it so many times. It's just automatic. It's automatic. So sometimes whenever you get accustomed and you're learning the language of attachment, you start to recognize these things. And it's not necessarily about calling your partner out, right? It's about bringing your partner in. Like, how do we fix this, right? What is happening here? So yeah, that's one of the really great things about attachment. And when it comes to attachment styles, it's important to know that you can, like, I probably have a different attachment style with, Dak versus Jay, because I know Jay, I've spent time with Jay. So the way that I engage with him is going to be different. So attachment styles are definitely not fixed. I don't want you to think that. If you have a good attachment style, something can happen, something traumatic can happen in a relationship, like someone cheats on you or someone isn't there for you when you really needed them to be there for you. That can shift a healthy attachment style into a more insecure pattern. So nothing is ever fixed here. And that's another facet that I really love about this theory. We're setting these guidelines and giving information, but it's really just to rein people in. So with attachment, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so let's step back for a second. What is attachment theory? What is attachment styles for?
Yeah, you just cut me off. I was gonna say.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, I like her.
Anyways.
Oh yeah.
She done rolled her eyes at me already.
You're gonna get a load of the doctor tonight. You're gonna get the load of the doctor.
Usually it take about 10 minutes in. That was 5 minutes in.
Okay. So when it comes to attachment theory, so it was created by John Bowlby. He's called like the founding father of attachment. It's important to know that with attachment theory and science, there are new advances every day. But I really, really love to start with the basics. So this white dude, scientist back in World War II era, right? These kids were having issues, like they needed surgeries in the hospitals. And back then, hospitals didn't allow parental visitation. So the kids would go for, weeks in these very sanitized, not warm, not welcoming, not nurturing environments, because nurses, that's really not their job to do that. So what Bowlby noticed is that these kids started to change the way that they engaged with caregivers, essentially, because they couldn't count on them to be available. So Bowlby worked with actually a social worker named James Robertson, and they were kind of working out of the Tavistock Clinic in London together on this project to kind of change some of these harsh hospital procedures so that the parents would be able to spend time with their kids. So that's kind of where all of this stuff was born.
Okay. And what year you said that was?
Like in the 52, like 52.
52. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
1952.
So
back then, I think Bowlby did a lot of the foundational work, but it was other researchers who kind of took attachment theory and ran with it. They started to see that these same attachment styles, which there are 4 primary styles, and I'll talk a little bit about those. But they started to see that these patterns could present themselves in adults, right? And so that became very interesting for researchers, like, well, why is this happening? You know, what is going on? Bowlby believed that attachment was essential, just like eating, just like, you know, all of your needs being taken care of. Before Bowlby's research, the scientific community just believed that babies bonded with their parents because the parents fed them, right?
Okay.
It was just
Right.
very basic. There was no actual need for connection. But when Bowlby came around, he was like, no, bro, like, seriously, like, obviously this kid is attached to this parent because of these specific things that this parent is doing. So, with the help of someone who studied under him, they developed these attachment styles through this like experimental process, sciencey stuff. And what happened is they determined that there are 4 attachment styles. The first one is secure, and I'm going to talk about these styles a little bit more in depth. But we've got secure, we've got anxious, we've got avoidant, and then we have disorganized, which is sometimes called fearful avoidant, but it's just a combination of anxious and avoidant together.
And secure, anxious, avoiding, and what's the last one?
Secure is the first one, which is everything that we should always be striving for. We have anxious, we have avoidant, and then disorganized. So we've got 3 insecure types that we'll probably be spending most of the time talking about today.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Okay.
So which one of the attachment theories that we need to be aware of? Like, you know, which one of these joints that's most damaging, or it could be I guess the prerequisite of you know, of something we need to be aware of. You know what I'm saying? That we want to avoid, perhaps.
Okay. I think that most of us in our relationships, a lot of the issues that we have stem from fear of abandonment or fear of abuse or neglect, right? So, depending on kind of how we were reared, we've developed these patterns of seeking closeness to people, okay? And sometimes these patterns that we've developed are no longer serving us, but we need somebody to kind of work with us to point that out so we can make those changes. I think it's most animals, like mammals, they find safety in places like squirrels. They have a favorite tree, you know, bears, they may have a favorite cave. But with humans, our safe spaces are other humans. So Bowlby believing that connection is essential just really illustrates how important relationships are to us throughout our entire lifespan.
Quick question. So, out of the 4, which style do you feel is the hardest to come back from? I imagine it's probably the combo one, but what have you seen in most people is the hardest that folks have had to come back from, or to, I guess, move towards secure?
Well, you know, honestly, it's kind of hard for me because I don't like to talk like in negative terms. But
Yeah.
I would say all of the insecure styles kind of have their own challenges that you have to learn how to work through. I don't think anyone is more so difficult than the other, because if you take somebody who is disorganized, right? That's the combination one. That's the, you know, anxious and avoidant put together. If they really want to be in a healthy relationship, then they'll make those changes and they'll strive to be better, to move towards that secure. So I don't want to say, like, you know, I don't like to talk in black and white.
Yeah.
No, no, that's good. Well, go ahead. This is great information. I have some questions, but I'm gonna hold off because there's some good information. Want to make sure we get this out.
Okay, so
Don't hold back. You know what I'm saying?
well,
Because you got a
with,
doctor on now. You want to change how you do shit now because you got a doctor on the show.
Oh no.
You
I
know
want.
what I'm saying? You ain't said nothing smart yet. You ain't said
Oh,
nothing
you know
like,
it's coming. You know it's
it's
coming.
coming. Okay, just let it happen. Okay, I got you. All right, let it happen.
So basically, attachment theory just states that it's important for all of us as humans to kind of bond and connect. And as we age, right, we have a primary attachment figure, and that person is typically like our caregiver, our parent, or for me, it was like my grandparents, could be a dad, anybody who is kind of showing up for you. We learn how to engage with people based off of that initial relationship. So think about if you're a kiddo and your parent is an addict. No shade to addicts, but addicts are avoidant, they're neglectful because their focus is not the child, the focus is obtaining whatever substance or behavior they're seeking. So what the child learns, that child could either become anxious, right, where they're going to always want somebody to affirm that they're good enough, that they're okay, that their self-esteem, that they're in the right place in the world. They're going to be overly clingy, they're going to be kind of very passive aggressive, or you could see the opposite of that spectrum, which is someone who is avoidant. And an avoidant person, they're not avoidant because they don't want to be in relationships. They're just avoidant because they've learned that when they ask for help or they ask, hey, I need you to be here with me right now, that their person isn't going to be responsive. So they've become independent. And so with that disorganized style, it's a combination of like push, pull, I love you, but I don't want to show you that I love you because I don't know if you're going to abandon me. Like, I don't know what. It's just a lot going on with someone who's disorganized.
No, that's awesome. Can you see the I think this is a great question because you just mentioned abandonment. Can you see the question below that says transparency?
Yeah. Read it or
I'll read it. I just want to make sure you can see it. So I'm trying to learn and understand this truly. We've adopted a daughter and she struggles with abandonment. I have a hard time working in it because I'm struggling with the need to be needed.
Yeah. So it's especially, I'm going to come back to this question, but in relationships, what we tend to see in the research is that opposites attract. So someone who is avoidant is going to, attract someone who's very anxious. And so that clinginess is going to make the avoidant person kind of go back into their shell, right?
Right.
And if that's going to make the anxious person become even more clingy, right? And so we've got all of these relational situations that don't make sense. But with kiddos, I think, especially, I don't know all of the like factors, right? Because obviously not wanting to talk in terms of black and white, there are many different things that go into how we, navigate our relationships. But for the question, I think if someone was adopted, they may have learned this pattern of behavior over time because it was effective. It could have kept them safe. It could have protected that kiddo, right? And kept her out of harm's way. And so what it's going to require is just, honestly, I would obviously recommend working with an attachment informed like therapist. But if you can't do that, I think it just requires a lot of patience and knowing that giving people some grace and some compassion, especially that kiddo, like depending on how old that person is, they may not have the language to express that they need you, or they may not have or feel comfortable even to do that yet.
Right.
So patience is huge in situations with kiddos who have been adopted.
Hey, I have a question. Do you ever see? So I'm reading up on some of this, and do you ever see narcissists that span across too? Because it looks like they kind of outline narcissists and disorganized, but I have a feeling that they're probably very good at masking being secure. So is that something that you kind of help pull out of someone that's kind of masking it? Because I know a lot of people that probably are masking the secure, but really are falling into insecure categories. And I just wondered how you were able to probably converse or pull that out of someone.
Okay, so let's think about it. Thinking about who a narcissist is, right? Just kind of the general basics of what a narcissist represents. If they're not going to be able to portray that they're like that they have a secure attachment style, like that's definitely not going to be a thing. So someone with somebody with a secure attachment style will allow their partner freedom. Do narcissists do that?
Nope.
No. They're going to seek comfort. Narcissists do that sometimes. Sometimes they do it too much in the form of love bombing, right? Are narcissists typically honest?
Nope.
No. So are they in relationships that are open and like equal? I like to say relational reciprocity. Typically, you're not going to find a narcissist in those situations. So I would almost say that a lot of narcissists probably have an insecure attachment style, whether it's anxious, avoidant, or disorganized. That really just depends on like their life circumstance.
Okay. So I have a question. So if I'm a single, and we'll say single woman, you know what I mean? How is there a way for me to spot someone's attachment style by just conversation? You know, because narcissists will, and you know, being we talk about narcissists, you know, they tend to be able to hide a lot of their behavior in the beginning, and it tends to come out later on. So is there, you know?
Yeah, so let's talk about what are the ways that we typically seek proximity or seek closeness to our partner. It's more than just like person to person. We might email them, right? What are some other things we might do?
Text them,
call,
right?
So somebody with
the job.
Somebody with an insecure attachment style is probably you. You always hear like, oh, I met somebody and I really like them, but I'm going to wait 3 days to message them back, right? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That sounds kind of like, you know, more of someone who could be avoidant or someone who could be disorganized or anxious. Or if someone's calling, texting, emailing a lot, right? Seeking that consistent affirmation and that proximity to you, that could be a sign as well.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So I think you said you were gonna. I think I don't have any more questions right now. I think you said you were gonna dive into some of the styles briefly, or have you done on?
Yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely do that a little bit more for sure. So, okay, somebody who is secure is going to be now when we say like, oh, they have a secure attachment style, I don't want anybody to get that confused with like they're this perfect person in a relationship. Like
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
No, that's not a thing, okay? Because whenever you take two people who grew up in two different homes and who have two different sets of beliefs and values and systems and probably different ways of navigating the world and communicating, there are going to be times where there's going to be friction. That's normal. So I think whenever we're talking about somebody who's secure, you'll know if you're leaning more towards a secure attachment style if an issue comes up in the relationship. Let's say I can give an instance. I really wanted to seek some affirmation from my girlfriend, so I was telling her, I was like, hey, I love you. Do you love me? Right? Do you like you haven't told me you love me in like 3 days and I've said it like 6 times. I think somebody who is secure, and I'm not saying I'm secure by any means, but what I'm just kind of giving an example is they're able to look at the relationship and say, I see something is weird and I'm going to be vulnerable and let you know how I feel and let you know that I want to work through this. So it's not that, oh, we need to have 2 secure people because then the relationship's going to be perfect. Relationships are meant, they're vehicles for transformation.
Do you find that people tend to, you know and understand where they at, whether they're, avoidant or disorganized, and feel that, you know what, I'll never really be secure. So what's the point of going what's the point of basically trying to strive for that when, you know what I'm saying, there's no perfect person?
Well, I mean, we're obviously talking about attachment styles in the format of like intimate relationships. But the reality of it is the way that we engage in like all relationships is the way that we engage in all relationships. So if you don't want to get healthy because you're not dating right now, that's really not a good enough excuse. You could always learn how to set boundaries, better boundaries at work. You could always learn how to communicate your needs to family. You could always learn how to be vulnerable and emotionally available for your children. So it's really no excuse, you know. I mean, again, attachment styles are not fixed. They're not fixed. So if you identify, if you're at that point where you're self-aware enough to be like, oh shit, I'm avoidant, I should probably work on that. Or you can look back at your relationships and be like, damn, well, maybe the relationship would have worked out if I would have just said how I felt. That's like the worst feeling ever, you know, to get a new sense of awareness and then realize, well, like, dang, if I had these skills before.
Right. Right. This might have worked out for me. You know, because I know, full transparency, like I'm an avoidant and I know I'm an avoidant, you know, and it's just based on relationships with people, you know what I'm saying? And I'm one of those that, you know, as I get older and grayer, I'm like, hey, you know what? It works for me. So, you know, find, you know, in my mind, I kind of feel like, hey, find another avoidant. We can avoid each other, come to each other at times, and go back in our own safe space, and we happy.
I don't know if it works like that.
It sounds good. It sounds very good, but in all reality, two avoidant people getting together may not be the best thing, because you got one who's going to want some proximity, some closeness at one time, and the other one's like, fuck that. I don't
Like a seesaw.
So you'll never be on the same page. So don't have that kind of mentality. And also, I'm a professor, but I'm also a mental health clinician. I'm never going to support somebody just staying stagnant. Like, for what?
Right.
Why? We're here on this plane, on this planet, to develop, to grow individually. Right. So if somebody gives me a tool or a skill that I can actually use to enhance my life, you can best believe I'm going to try that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's worth a try.
Yeah. You got something to say, Jay? Let's see your ear. We can't hear you.
Muted or something?
No, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't run out of battery right now. But this is all good information, man. Like, this is all good. It helps you just to, you know, to be better at, you know, understanding yourself and your own bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So just to listen to her talk about, you know, the attachment theory, and it just helps you forgive yourself and literally, okay, yeah, I could do better. I don't have to like not recognize something because whatever reason, but I can actually go ahead and recognize it in a way where, you know what, I can go ahead and be better, or be better for myself and also for somebody I'm with, or for somebody, you know, somebody that's your child. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you guys can hear me clearly or not, but
no, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool.
So when it comes to the secure attachment style, one key feature of that style is that they're able to self-soothe. So we all know that life hits us hard. We might go out and present on something and someone's like, that was a terrible presentation, or you didn't get the promotion that you wanted, right? Someone who's secure is going to be able to kind of emotionally regulate themselves. They're going to be able to look at it from a healthy perspective and try to figure out where they might be able to learn. So when it comes to the insecure styles, whether that's anxious, avoidant, or that disorganized, these folks struggle to learn how to regulate their emotions. They don't know how to, like, I'm happy. What do I do when I'm happy? I'm mad. What do I do? What's the correct response? You know, what's a healthy response? They don't know how to regulate their emotions because something happened. It could have happened in childhood, it could have happened in adulthood. But in childhood, one thing I love to tell parents is like, hey, it's your responsibility to sort that kid's emotions. Like, you have
Right.
to help that kid understand the world. They're going out to school, they're engaging on social media. The kid needs to have a safe base, a secure base to come back to and say, hey, mom, hey, dad, hey, parent, like, this is what's happening. Can you help me understand the world? People with insecure attachment styles may not have gotten that. They don't know how to regulate their emotions. They don't know what to do in order to, like, move from depression to
Right.
anger. Like, they don't really know how to do that stuff because they were never taught those skills.
Right.
Mhm.
So you can imagine how that would play out in relationships, though,
Oh
if
yeah, yeah, no,
someone doesn't know how to self-soothe.
yeah. That becomes horrific in a relationship. So someone that is currently, maybe dealing with someone like that, or just based on some of the things you're saying, that a light bulb has went off, and they're like, "Wow, this is me." How can they move from that insecure to more of a secure as an adult? And honestly, I'm going to say, as a single adult right now, before we talk about relationships, because I think that tends to be a lot of problems that people don't understand. They basically claim that they're healing, but you don't really heal until you deal with someone else in a relationship. Then you realize, like, oh shit, I wasn't who I thought I was.
Well, I think I really appreciate what you said because, like I said, relationships are very transformational. There's a lot of healing that can occur, and there's a lot of, like, toxic shit that can build up in these relationship spaces too. But there's never, like, an end to the healing process, right? Because sometimes maybe you've done all the work and you're in therapy, or you've practiced all these skills, or you've got a great toolkit, and you're out there, and then something new triggers you, and you're like, oh crap, what the heck, I don't have a tool to deal with this. So healing is not finite. Like, it's an ongoing process, and it's something that can be done in relationships as long as both people are willing to make that effort. It definitely would take some communication, consistency, transparency, and lots and lots and lots of vulnerability. So vulnerability to me means I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to tell you what I need from you, right? If I need a hug, I'm going to act like I really need a hug right now, or I really need you to cuddle with me, or whatever. I
Right.
think too many of us, especially like Black women,
Mhm.
we're not really allowed to have this space where we can be vulnerable because everyone's like, "Oh, well, you're strong. You can do it. Oh, well,
Mhm.
so what, they're mean to you. Just brush it off. You're flawless." And I'm like, I'm real tired of that. I'm very tired of that scenario because it doesn't
Right.
leave any space for people, for, like, real people, people who
Right.
have feelings, people who are struggling.
Mhm.
People don't feel comfortable asking for help. So vulnerability is, like, incredibly important. But let's go back to your question because clearly I'm long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. You're fine. You,
Like,
you
He
give you
is
give the
too.
right information.
but as far as
Mhm.
with individuals, so if you're not in a relationship and you want to do some work on your attachment style, I think the first thing to do is maybe take a quiz, take a couple quizzes to see what your attachment style might be. There are a couple really great standardized assessments out there that are free.
Mhm.
One of them is called the Adult Attachment Scale, right? So AAS for short. You can download it and just kind of take it and score yourself. There's also a really great one, Experiences in Close Relationships, ECR. That standardized scale is also free. But if you determine that you um, have an insecure style, what you can do is really start to work on your distress tolerance skills. So learn how to regulate yourself. Learn how to deal with yourself when you have a bad day. Learn how to deal with yourself when you're feeling sad. Learn how to deal with your anxiety, right? Learn how to deal with yourself. Don't always try to seek,
Right.
everybody else is not going to be available for you all the time. Sorry.
Right. You're making me cry right now. What you mean everybody ain't gonna be available for me? I'm a Cancer. They all available for me.
We could start a whole new podcast on cancers. But anyway.
For real.
Hey.
I digress. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I have a question. So my attachment style is secure. And I always wondered, like, I'm not very huggy, cuddly. My mom wasn't like that. I never had no hugginess like that. So it's not a form of love I'm used to. But I often find that a lot of women want to cuddle, or they want that reassurance in that form.
Affirmation, yeah.
And I struggle because I feel like I can do it, but it's not a second nature thing to me. Like some people who, let me give you a hug. It don't come over me like that. So I've always wondered, like, with this whole secure style, is that like some parts of it where people are so secure in themselves that they don't have to have someone display that type of love to them, and in return, I feel like it may not necessarily be something that I'm capable of. But I've always wondered, that is that part of something that a person with a secure style would have, or is that just me with my?
You just think he bad.
Because I feel like I'm addressing or asking a question a lot of men are probably.
No, you're asking a really great question. It's a wonderful question. I think we have to understand that our attachment style is not going to represent like 100% how we show up in our relationships. And you mentioned that you come from a family where, you just didn't receive a lot of physical affirmation. But I do have a question for you. Is it that you don't mind? Like, how comfortable are you with giving someone physical affirmation if they want to hug or they want to cuddle? Does it make you feel weird? Do you want to do it? Like, what's the situation?
I think it makes me feel weird, and I think it makes me feel weird because I've never been used to it. So it makes me feel like, why do you need that kind of thing? Because I'm Gucci without it, so why do you need it? And then I think too, it has a lot to do with the timing of when someone is asking for it. Mm-hmm. Is it when we're just chilling on the couch? Is it when you're mad? Or is it when you feel certain emotions? Like, I think that's a part of it too, because I never dealt very well with people in crying or grief or anything like that. So I think they kind of might be going hand in hand. That I'm not very good at handling that type of emotion, so I'm not good at.
Maybe it's more of like being vulnerable. It's more of like you struggle with other people's vulnerability, like them wanting that physical affirmation from you, or also, so it's just experiencing someone's emotions. Like when we're in relationships, and if you have a secure attachment style, it doesn't mean that you got secure self-esteem. It's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. But someone who's in a secure relation, or has a secure attachment style, they're going to be able to look at their partner and say, even though this is something I don't feel comfortable with, I can give this to you because I know it's going to benefit the relationship. Mm-hmm. So perhaps your question is more about vulnerability. Like, how comfortable am I in my vulnerability as a man? Have I really explored that? Was I ever allowed to explore that?
No.
Can I interject? Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, Jay.
Like y'all laugh at me when I talk about vulnerability management.
Oh,
and what did this person with all the credentials just tell y'all? You know what I'm talking about? Is you understand your vulnerability, man, and how to manage it, man. Like this, I can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying. That's what I heard her say. And we've had several shows where,
because honestly, in those moments when someone is asking you for physical affirmation, there's an opportunity for you to build trust no matter what is going on. If y'all are in the middle of a fight, y'all are in the middle of whatever, if this person is asking for physical affirmation, they're communicating that they're being vulnerable and they need you to fill a need. They need that from you. And if you're secure and you want that relationship to thrive, then you'll be able to respond.
Right.
see
So
that? Valuable, man. You help me be a more efficient human being.
It's a work in progress. Like, I grew up in a home where physical touch was not a thing. So wanting to give hugs, receiving hugs, like that was a struggle for me. But as I grew and I had children of my own, I realized that other people have different needs than me. And so sometimes I have to show up for those people in the way that they understand.
Right. No, that's awesome, because I grew up in a household where, we hugged all day long. You know what I mean? We probably overhugged, you know what I mean? So in relationships, that's always what I expect. And if I don't get that, then I feel a sense of rejection.
But really, it could just be that woman not having experience or not being comfortable in her own vulnerability.
Yeah, see, I grew up with two military parents, one drill sergeant.
I should have said that first,
and I was into every damn thing. So I don't know if that played into it, but I would say this: definitely the whole military aspect definitely lended to, I think, that avenue of not being able to necessarily do the whole physical touch type thing. I think it was hard to step away from being a leader in the army or the military and then separating it with your child. I don't think, my aspect of being in the military wasn't a lot of hugging going on. There was far and few between with certain individuals when you have that relationship. But most of it is you cannot break down that line of subordinate leader, follow directions, that type of stuff. And people feel like sometimes when you're a little overly affectionate or anything like that, that there's some degradation or something to that line. So I think that just coming up with that and those two type of mentalities in mind in my parents, it was kind of hard for them to really be huggy feely, but also say you need to stay on your shit and stop getting in trouble and stop doing certain things. So it's difficult though, because it played out into my adult life heavy. And it's still trying to resolve that.
But that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Like right now, you're taking the opportunity to ask these questions to increase your emotional intelligence. So when this happens for you again, hopefully you'll decide to show up in a different way, or really to understand that it's bigger than just this person right here, right now, asking me for this. Like this is a lot bigger than that. And if you want to work on that, because it sounds like, I don't believe in stagnation. Like that's not a thing. Not to say that you got to be, like giving everybody hugs all the time and doing all this stuff, but it is nice to be felt, right? It's nice to be heard. It's nice to be felt and seen in our relationships.
Right.
It's hard being light skinned, man. That's all I'm saying, dog. Like,
light skin, we're good here.
Oh, dog.
So I think
that might have been it. Then I wasn't giving no hugs because I didn't want to be soft.
Well, it could have been that, or vulnerability just wasn't encouraged. Honestly, we're talking about vulnerability. We're for people of color. We were never encouraged to be vulnerable. It was always, you got to be hard. You got to be fast. You got to be better than everybody else. Never let them see you sweat. Don't show anybody that you have emotions. Like, get your shit together. We have never, ever been allowed to be vulnerable. Ever.
Yeah.
So it's not like it would just come,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it makes sense. Let me try this. Like, no, it's going to take work. You're going to have to put in some actual action steps. It's going to take
Right.
work.
Mm-hmm.
But you asked about how you can kind of change your attachment style from that insecure,
Mm-hmm.
space if you're single. I think
Mm-hmm.
increasing your distress tolerance skills, which we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
increasing your emotional intelligence, right? We talked about
Mm-hmm.
that. Increasing your self-acceptance and your acceptance of others. And one of the things I always talk to my clients about is radical acceptance. When I think of radical acceptance, I'm not saying to you I condone what you're doing. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying to you is I see what you're doing and I'm just going to accept it because I can't control how you act. I can't control what you got going on. I'm barely in control of myself.
Mm.
So, you know, all I can do is be accepting of who I am. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I want to hug. Sometimes I'm
Mm-hmm.
angry. Sometimes I'm hangry. Like just
Right.
learning how to accept things for what they actually are. And then the
Right.
last step would just be increasing your self esteem, right? You
Mm-hmm.
are deserving of a hug if you want one. You are
Right.
deserving of being in a relationship with somebody who can meet your needs. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, hell, you got to communicate them.
Right.
You got to communicate. You have to communicate your needs. I mean, no one, you
Right.
know,
No one reads your mind, right?
can't do that. That's not a skill that we haven't untapped that yet. So,
And no, I totally agree. So I wanna jump back to one thing you mentioned about vulnerability, and then our last few minutes or so talk about relationships. Um as far as vulnerability with men, because there's a lot of men out here that in my opinion, what I call a Dacism, right? They're caught in between that avoidant and disorganized attachment style. And I find that, I'm saying, just in talking to people, they tend to, as you mentioned earlier, find the opposite, which tends to further propel them into this pattern of continued hurt. And, you see all of these memes about, what I mean, I hope all her teeth fall out when she wake up in the morning. And, you got all the men up there like, power to the people, you know what I'm saying? So, how can a man express to a woman that, hey, you know what I'm saying, I'm vulnerable and I need you to understand that, in Jay's words, I'm trying to manage my vulnerability right now. um you know what I'm saying, how can they do that? How can they learn to be vulnerable and know what's the right person to be vulnerable with? Does that make sense?
yeah, that's a really great question. First of all, there is no right person to be vulnerable with, right?
Mhm.
We always hear like practice makes perfect, but that's
Right.
not real. Practice makes better. We
Hmm.
never reach perfection.
Hmm.
But anytime you have an opportunity to be vulnerable with someone, whether that's an intimate partner, a family member, your child,
Hmm.
right? Like my son, sharing with me, his dad is white, right? And I'm obviously not white. And so he talks to me a lot about some of the challenges that he has. And I can't really give him any advice because I'm black. I grew up black and I grew up in California. So I didn't really experience racism to kind of that extent or the extent
Right.
that he is. He feels
Hmm.
like he's not white enough. He feels like he's not black enough and whatever. It's really his experience. But all I can do for him in that moment is be supportive and tell him, like, hey, buddy, I don't know how to solve all your problems, but I can be here with you and we can try to figure this shit out together. You know, um, as far as men, being in these insecure attachment styles, whether it's anxious, avoidant, or disorganized, I think what you have to do is just recognize first, just increase your self-awareness. Do you want to, and then I always, it's like asking my clients the same shit. Like, do you want to get better? Do you want do you want to keep being in these types of relationships? Like, do you want to keep saying the same story. I mean, it's a different character, but I mean, the
Right.
shit always just kind of plays out the same. Are you tired of it? You
Right.
know? And if the answer to that is yes, then it would just be really trying to come to terms with the fact that, one, as a man, it's okay to be vulnerable. I realize I'm a woman saying that, and it's much more socially acceptable for me to be vulnerable than
Right.
it is for y'all. So I can't tell a man how to be vulnerable. I would just say, in those moments when you're thinking like, should I really say how I feel right now? Just fucking say it and see what happens. Just say it and see what happens, because practice makes better, not perfect. And you may do it with the wrong person. It doesn't matter. Relationships are about transformation. You can be in a relationship and transform yourself so much so that you outgrow the person. That's a beautiful thing. That's not a negative. That's a positive, you know?
No, that's interesting. That's the first I've ever heard. Wrong one. That's the first I've ever heard that you can basically transform to be to the point that you're better than the person.
Because
Because what?
it.
Then
I've seen
Hell
yeah.
I've
Hell
done it.
yeah.
I've seen it. It happens. And so
People
you
stay
just kind of,
stagnant.
you outgrow, you continue
Right.
to work on yourself. And it's like me, if I'm ever in a situation, in a relationship, I'm not going to leave the relationship until I have tried everything. That means I'm being vulnerable. I'm communicating. I'm, taking my L's. I'm apologizing when I need to apologize. I'm checking my attitude and my behavior, making sure I'm not doing anything that's contributing to the problem. I'm going to do all of that before I just start blaming everything on everybody else. Because if you're doing this, right, where's your self-awareness?
That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. You're a very wise sister, Doctor Professor. So let's kind of talk about our relationships for a few minutes, because early on you said something as well that I've never heard anyone ever say, that even in a relationship, I'm probably gonna mess it up, but I think you said something to the effect that you're always healing.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that, a lot of people have come to terms, and I've even said it myself, that, you know what, you need to come healed. You need to come, 100% before I deal with you, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So what
But it's
makes
just,
you say that?
how realistic is that though? Like I said, you can work with a therapist, you can read all these self-help books, read all these relationship books. I know all about the 5 love languages and attachment theory, and I have it all figured out. But you get into a relationship with somebody and they trigger you because they chewing food the wrong way. And you're like, wait, I never addressed that, right? Or why am I so angry all of the time?
Right.
Healing is a ongoing process. It's not like you start healing and then you stop, because life continues to throw bullshit at us all the time that we have to heal from.
Exactly. So
But I think people can heal in relationships. I think it is possible, but I want to be very effing clear here. 2 people can heal in a relationship if both of them are willing to be vulnerable and do the work. Like, communicate, be consistent, be transparent. If one person is showing up that way, it may not work out. If both people are showing up that way, you got a rock solid chance, for real.
No. So why do you think, society says you have to be healed? Women say, hey, I need, I'm saying, I'm tired of dealing with hurt men. You know what I'm saying? And men are like, hey, meet me where I'm at and help me get to this next stage.
Oh, geez.
Uh-oh.
There's so many things that I want to say.
You're
Okay.
allowed to cuss on the show. You're allowed
Yeah,
to.
I cursed. I said a curse word. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's really our communities of color, family units are really not pushed forward, right? family units are very rare. We see all the time single households, right? Baby mama, baby daddy drama, da 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 da. It's not cost effective for people of color to be in healthy relationships. And so I think that's why society, the powers that be, and being a system, I mean, it's not a system that has typically worked for us. So
Right.
I just think we have to reinvent the wheel. And this, I'm really glad that we're here, right? So that we can try to do some of that stuff. It is possible for two people, two essentially broken or flawed people, to heal in relationships. No one's perfect. No relationship is perfect. And everything takes work, period, point blank. End of story, right? But as far as society goes, they're not a proponent of families of color. They're not like, yay, let's get these families together.
Right.
Well, they're making money off of us and our dysfunction, for real.
In the form of 5 love languages. That shit was for us, I bet you. I don't never hear other folks talk about that damn book. But we talk about that shit all the time.
A lot of people talk about the book. It's a good book. I understand where you guys are coming from, but again, it's not like a moniker to live by. It's not a relationship Bible. There is no relationship Bible, because you got two people at different stages of healing trying to make some shit happen. Like, there's no Bible for that.
No, totally agree. So two people, if someone is let's say dating someone right now, or even in a relationship, would you suggest that they take the quiz?
Yeah, I definitely would. If they're having some challenges, or they just want to be proactive as opposed to being reactive, or they just want to understand themselves and their partner better, I think it would be helpful to take that quiz. And it might also be helpful, like, to talk about, I know there's some negative stuff out there about, like, you shouldn't tell everybody all of the negative things that you've been through, from prior relationships. And I don't think you should, but if you have a fear of rejection, if you require, some consistent communication, like, these are things you should definitely feel comfortable sharing with your partner. But if y'all take the quiz and you recognize, like, oh shit, well, we're really not as secure as we thought we were, don't worry. It's okay, because we're all trying to move in that secure direction. And even me, I'm in relationships with people where, like, with my family and my parents, I'm more avoidant, right? With my friends, I'm way more secure, because we've been through things and I've been able to rely on them, and we've had opportunities to build that trust. But if y'all recognize that y'all are insecure, it's okay. Just focus on being compassionate with one another, right? Not calling people out, but really bringing people in. Like, let's sit down and talk about this. Not, I'm going to call you on your shit. Like, that's really not helpful in any way. Not in any way. The next thing is be empathetic. We don't know what it's like to walk in that other person's shoes. We have no idea, right? We may know a little bit about them, but we don't know what it is like to get up every day and be our person. So be empathetic, be supportive of their needs, be supportive of yourself, take care of yourself, be attentive, right? So check in, I do this with my partner all the time. Hey, are we good? And it's not always when something's weird. It's just like, hey, how do you think we're doing? You think we're communication wise, are we doing good? Do we need to spend more time? Like, what do we need? How are you feeling? And I like to do that just to gauge, so I could make improvements, right? So I could try to be proactive. So being attentive is very important. And also, that's going to let that person know that you give a shit about them. If you're asking them, like, hey, they just asked me if we're good and nothing's happening. Like, Where do they do that? Who does that?
Right, exactly.
And then be responsible and responsive, right? So if you're mad at your partner and they message you and they're seeking that affirmation, Rob, that's physical, you could be like, I'm gonna give you this hug, but I'm still pissed off at you. But I'm gonna give you this hug because I know that's what you need right now. Be responsive.
That I ain't figured that part out.
Man,
I can't.
I checked a lot of vulnerable boxes off then.
Yeah.
Just don't hug.
Yeah, I haven't been able to do that. If we mad, I can't hug you.
Nah, I can. I can because I can compartmentalize and separate things. Like
Man.
being frustrated about this ain't got shit to do with us holistically. It's just right here. We have a problem. Let's talk about this shit because I feel a certain type of way about what you did. It ain't gotta fuck our whole rest of our relationship up. I ain't finna tie it in. I'm not even gonna probably tie into the rest of the day.
Think about it though, if you are in a situation where there's conflict with your partner and you know you're frustrated and they're frustrated, if they're asking you for affirmation and you can be attentive and give it to them, they're probably going to be more willing to work through that issue.
So how can you do that without feeling like you're giving too much of yourself?
I'm sorry,
That's
is
vulnerable.
this a game?
You're vulnerable.
Is this a game?
Why is it a game?
Is this
versus,
a game?
hey, you know what?
Well,
Is
you
it a
playing
game?
chess. You kind of playing chess though, man. You over here. Should I show them a little bit of my leg? Will they show me the rest of it? Like that's what you playing.
I like you and I like you a lot, but I'm really not going to show you how much I like you because
I can't stick to them games.
I don't want to leave you. I don't want you to leave me.
I don't want to lead you on, right?
But honestly, though, do you want to be right or do you want to be in fucking relationship?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I say that quite often, you know, and some of the things, some of the statements I'm making is because, you know, talking to people prior to this, just trying to, you know, just do a little research just to kind of get theories on, you know, different type of situations and stuff people are in.
So but we could take it back to Bowlby, right? From the beginning, when I was born, you guys with all that science, he believed, right, that attachment, connection was essential for all of us to be here on this plane. And it is true because us as humans, we find our home, our safety in other people. So you have to be vulnerable enough to create those spaces, to allow those things to happen. So it's not always about being right. Who cares? Who cares about being right? And it's not even about blame. It's about like, this is where we are. How do we move forward? Because I don't like this space. I'm not comfortable here. Are you comfortable here? Because this is not the business.
See, I tried to tell you guys some previous shows about vulnerability management. You guys weren't paying attention to me.
All right, Jay.
y'all see the DR dot in front of her name. Y'all won't pay attention to her.
Jay didn't have the DR.
I'm just saying. I stay consistent with the message.
No, you definitely do.
You was touching down with her when you came to talk to us.
Y'all are laughing and joking about being vulnerable, but this is the way that we disrupt society. We become vulnerable. We show people what vulnerability looks like. We show this to our kids. We show this to our grandparents. Like, hey, remember when I wanted a hug? Did y'all ever hug me? Well, come on, I'm gonna give you a hug, right? We are here to make change. We're change agents. And if all we have to do is be vulnerable, like
right. No, I agree. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what are you really losing? You know what I'm saying? You're not, you know what I'm saying? You're, in my opinion, not really losing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I was vulnerable to Rob today, and Rob ain't my friend tomorrow. All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Move on. You know what I'm saying?
Cut your losses. I mean, if people can't recognize and accept that part of you, then perhaps maybe that's dead weight. Maybe it's time to cut some of these losses. So
I think a lot of things these days is about positioning. And that's why you don't have people be vulnerable, because they feel like they're losing some type of position in whatever relationship or situation they're in.
But if honestly, I would respect someone more if I knew I could be vulnerable with that person. I would
Oh yeah.
I would respect a leader more if I knew that I could depend on this motherfucker to be like, "Oh, your kid is sick. Okay, yeah, you stay home." Right?
Mhm.
So I think fuck all that bullshit about vulnerability. Like that's just some lie that these people are telling us because it makes them uncomfortable. They
Right.
don't know
Mhm.
they don't know what to do with vulnerability. They don't know how to accept it. Like
Mm-hmm. No, I tell man. I mean, ooh, you dropped a whole lot of jewels tonight. You know what I mean? And the fellas and the women. You know what I mean? I've received texts already like she really know her stuff. Yeah, she do. You know what I'm saying? That's professor. You know what I mean?
well, no, I mean, fuck that. I'm a student. Like one of my
Mm-hmm.
first, I'm a first. My first primary title is student because
Mm-hmm.
life teaches me new shit every day.
Right.
Every
Mhm.
day.
Right.
I'm a
Yeah.
student.
And for someone in a relationship, you know, and I'll just I'll use that life is throwing different things at you every day, right? At what point in a relationship do you just say, hey, you know what? This is just not working for us. You know what I mean? We understand our vulnerabilities. We understand, you know what I'm saying, where we're at on the attachment scale. And how do you let go? Because that's another big issue that I see. And somebody just actually asked me that. But that's another issue that I see as well, that people don't know when they think that, hey, if I just try just a little bit harder, you know what I'm saying? And the attachment theory says if I change myself this way and I change my
Whoa,
pattern
whoa,
this way.
whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Attachment theory is not saying that. It's just giving us a framework. But
Mm-hmm.
you're good enough. Everybody is good enough how they are. We just
Mm-hmm.
need to like shift into more secure relationships. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a relationship and you've tried the things and it's just not working, you gotta be self-aware enough to say, you know what, I've developed as much as I can in this relationship, and it's
Mm-hmm.
time for me to make the next move. Now, some people are fans of like staying friends with their exes. That's never really been my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe after like a period of time, I could do that, especially if it was just, we're just not meshing well. We just don't see eye to eye. Then,
Mm-hmm.
you can shift that person into a different sphere of your life, maybe just an acquaintance or a friendship. But I would never suggest sacrificing like your needs. If you're in a situation you're sacrificing your needs or your wants or you're being abused,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to be there. Like you just don't need to be there.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Well, I'm blown away at you know what I'm saying, you know, the information that I've I've gained tonight. You know what I mean? I've definitely look at things in a different light. And like I said, I've been reading uh the attachment book, the book that attached book. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely opened my eyes and you know what I mean, had me look at life and just look at the relationships I have with my kids, what friends, co-work, well, not
Let
co-workers,
me get a book. Hold on one second.
mhm, my
Um,
wife.
there's
Mhm,
this book that is not an attachment book. It's called Loving Bravely.
mhm,
It's a book on 20 lessons. It's a self-discovery book on like how to love yourself better, but
mhm,
it's attachment informed. So it takes you through all of your previous relationships and maybe things that haven't worked out. It works you through like some of your childhood stuff.
mhm,
I think it's on Amazon. It's like less than 20 bucks, but it's
mhm,
the best money that I've ever spent. And I worked through all these lessons as myself, obviously myself, but I did it for me after I went through a divorce.
mhm,
And so it was very helpful. But I also talked to my students and my clients about getting this book because it really just helps you become more in tune with who you are to understand what your needs are. So it's called Loving Bravely, and you can get it on Amazon. Maybe you can't, maybe therapy is not your thing, and I totally get that. This is 20 actual lessons. Like, it's not just a bunch of reading. Everything in there is relevant. It's curated wonderfully, honestly. And I mean, each chapter, it gives you a new opportunity. It makes you look at a lesson, and then it gives you new skills to try. So
that's awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thanks, Ulysses. Posted, you got the price and everything. If anybody can't afford it, inbox me. I'll buy you a book. I'm gonna go purchase the book myself. Any questions, Rob or Jay, before we begin to wrap it up? I don't want to hold too much of her time, but go ahead.
We did have somebody ask if you do telecare. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I did see that. I'm not accepting clients right now, but I do practice telehealth.
Girl, you came on here talking that good stuff. You knew these people. You already knew these people was gonna want to hit you up.
No, but the reality of it is, I know a lot of really great BIPOC therapists and counselors. So I can put you in contact with somebody, or I could give you guys a list of folks, right?
Yeah.
I know some providers in Georgia. I know providers in Florida. I know providers in Alabama.
What about Connecticut, New York?
I can find some.
That'd be great if you can, because
yeah, I can do that.
I sent you some graphics. It's kind of all over the place. So
I need a new therapist.
I'm about if she'll take me on.
Nah, she said she had a whole little long, drawn out episode for cancers, bro. That's more than an hour therapy session right there. That's an hour of crying. That's an hour of crying first.
There's lots of content on YouTube that you can access on how to navigate different attachment styles. And if your partner is anxious and you got the opposite thing going on, there's lots of really great references and videos on YouTube. And I like YouTube because it's free, obviously.
Right.
So the barrier of money is not there.
Right. Exactly. I totally agree.
Okay. So how frequently do you have openings?
Oh, geez. This is going to sound really crazy, and I never thought I would be this type of person, but I haven't taken on a new client in 2 years.
Wow.
I have clients that I've worked with in the past that have successfully navigated something and we've ended, and they reach out to me and then they want to come back. So I always have a rule: once a client, always a client. They're my priority. So whenever I have I'm not accepting new referrals at this time, but I can let you guys know when I start to, and I'm also going to email y'all a list of some providers. I could do that as well.
Yeah, because I'm first on the list, so Short brothers come first.
Yeah, you need all the help.
That's not
just her, but you need everybody. Call everybody. Come get her.
Right, exactly. I'm being vulnerable right now. Y'all know I'm vulnerable,
and you guys are dragging him. Don't do that.
Yeah. So, well, thanks again. We're gonna get ready to wrap up. You know what I'm saying? Really, really, really appreciate you you coming on. Definitely would love to have you on again.
Just let me know when.
This was like, I mean, freaking amazing. Like I said, I've learned a lot just listening to you. You know what I'm saying? I won't laugh at Jay every time he says vulnerability management. But when you listen to one of, I'm gonna send you one of the videos. He says it like every
800 times.
Right? We know what he's gonna say before he even says something.
Nah, because you could be like, the Kool-Aid is great. Man. He'll be like, well, vulnerability management would have had it red. Like,
dude, it's so important. It's important. That's
if
why
you
I
had managed your vulnerabilities,
it
we would have made red Kool-Aid and not purple. What?
Right.
I'm just saying, it's important, brother. You gotta have a doctor on it to corroborate what I'm saying.
Right.
Vulnerability is really how we disrupt the status quo of who we are as people of color. That's a great place to start. for sure.
Yeah, and we joking around, but we're
I know.
like way
I know.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, Kevin Samuels teach attachment vulnerability.
Maybe.
You crazy. So so when we end the shows, we ask everybody to leave the people what, a line, a statement or something before we go. So what would you leave them with, Dr. Maywald? Did I say it right? I ain't got my glasses on. I can't see
Put
it.
some respect on my name.
He said that
Yeah.
shit like he can't read. Did I say it right? Is there some silent letters in that shit or
Put
something?
some
I can't
respect
see.
on that thing. Put some respect on that thing.
It's a
Leave
silent
that
Y or
DR.
something. What's going
You better leave that DR on that mug.
I think the most important thing that I'd like for people to take away from what I shared today is that anytime is a great place to start. There's no excuses. Whenever you decide to make a change, you can do that, and you should do it for yourself, right? Do it for you. Make sure your heart is in it. And don't do it because everybody else wants you to do it. Do something for yourself. Be a little bit selfish and say, you know what? I could use some updated relationship skills. So,
Jay? That's happy Jay now.
Yeah,
He's
just,
Jay now.
you know what I mean? Like I'm so glad to have you on the show. To give your perspective, because I know that you've taken a technical and a heartfelt approach to human relationships, and I think again, guys, this is what I obsess over all the time. So yeah, man, understand your vulnerability, man, and just use whatever you can to get closer to be as efficient as you can be. You know what I'm saying, in the moment that we're in with the person that we with, man. So yeah, man. It's glad to have you on the show, man. It's good to see you guys. It's been a while, and yeah, man. I'll wrap it up, man. Just go ahead and just mute my mic. Be good.
4, 3. All right, I thought we was gonna have to count you down, Jay. Rob Deasy.
Do that man got shades on at nighttime?
Yeah. That's that
okay.
happiness love,
I didn't know if they tinted out when it got night or what. I don't know.
the love is blinding his eyes. The love.
Exactly.
The love. You know what I'm saying? It's stop managing my vulnerability with glasses on. That's what I was, man. That's how I do it. But just so y'all know, these are medicated glasses. I left everything else at the house. So these are actually, glasses.
Oh, medicated, huh?
Right, medicated.
Were they $4.20?
They got medication. They got medication in it.
He got them for Walmart.
Were they $4.20 glasses?
Well, I'm gonna let you work on your jokes, man. You can be more. I think you can be funnier than that. I think you be funnier than that. Man.
Don't let a joke going over your head be not funny. Man, I definitely thankful for the Dr. Professor Maywald for coming on here. Yeah, you said a lot of great things. I think it touched a lot of people. That's why I said once people watch this show, you're going to still have people ask the same questions that I asked. So it's going to come. Same thing if you come back on the show, because you just, I think it's relatable. Like you have such a relatable personality and stuff. And I think it was very good for you to be on and express that to people, not only from clinical standpoints, but also from a relatability standpoint. For everybody else, I think she touched on it very, very much. Vulnerability management. We all need to be able to be vulnerable in times of need. I'm vulnerable. I just don't hug a lot. Hey man, it's a big key. I mean, it's key, man. Like she said, I definitely agree with that whole growing thing. Like I think some people become stagnant. So everybody continue to grow, continue to be open and express yourself, and just move on from there and do what you got to do to make sure you good. All right, Dad, what you got for us, Papa Smurf?
So manage your vulnerability, right? Hey, we managing it tonight. Y'all gonna leave me alone now. And it's funny because I told Jay, I was in conversation with somebody few times, and I was like, you got to manage your vulnerability. And I'm like, I sound like damn Jay right now.
That's why he does it. It's psychological warfare. Like, he's a lot smarter than you guys give him credit for. I promise.
Oh no, I know he's like a genius. He tries to play. I know that.
Nah, Jay be having all the smart people behind him. He don't let us see them. he let us get a glimpse to one of his people behind him.
Right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. The show is on Facebook. It's on YouTube. Like, comment, share. If you enjoyed what you saw, definitely share it. Definitely like it. Having Professor Doc on was awesome. One, because she's a Black woman. She's a young Black woman. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like we have somebody on here that look like they're 195 talking about, look at here now.
Black don't crack, though. Black don't crack. I thank God every day to be a Black woman. I promise you that.
But he definitely did a good job with you. And you was on the good teeth line too. We can see. So, but we'll definitely try to get her on. Get Doc on again. Again, thanks for joining. You'll see some of my posts are going to be shifted more towards some of the conversations that we had here. And that's pretty much it. Good night. Peace. Love y'all. Holla at y'all later. All that Papa Smurf is out. Peace.
Oh, we're gonna talk about next week?
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
So I was gonna let you talk about it because you you drive the programming. You're the program manager.
So next week will be the show that we were having today. More this show was going to be more interactive as far as your attachment styles. So I'm sure now, after everyone watching this, they're really going to be intrigued about attachment styles. So next week will be more interactive with the audience. Different attachment styles, different things. We're not experts. We're not Dr. Professor. We're just going to have general conversation similar to what Rob posts on his page, Good post on her page, I post, Jay post. So it's going to be just more interactive. We want to hear your attachment style and how that affects your current relationships and how that affects you just personally. You know what I'm saying? And I would love, really, really, really love to hear some feedback next week on, how what Dr. Maywald.
God damn, bro. Maywald, bro.
Maywald.
Respect.
God damn. This
Dr.
shit is
Maywald.
7 letters. God damn it, 7 letters.
Man, I ain't got my glasses on, man. Everybody looking like this.
God
right
damn, boy. You want to be in a session? Can't get past the night.
Please say I won't be able to find her to get a session, right? But
you offended me.
I would love to hear some feedback as to, something that you changed after this show. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I'm going to post about tomorrow, which I think is awesome, is being able to allow your partner to heal in a relationship and heal together. Because one thing everyone says, if this person isn't healed, that person isn't healed, I can't deal with them. And tonight we heard something that debunks all of that. Peace.
Peace.